Welcome back to our studios here in Lahore. I'm Hamza Amjad, and let's begin with occupied Kashmir. Thousands of people have taken to the streets against India's revocation of the region's special status. Occupation forces have resorted to the use of live ammunition and pellets to disperse protesters.
The Kashmiris living under siege for almost a week now registered their anger against New Delhi's oppressive actions. Demonstrators chanted slogans against the Indian government and rejected the abrogation of Article 370. Protesters said even excessive use of force by India cannot silence their voices.
I was shot in the eye and chest. My friend was also shot. Now I can't see from this eye. There are countless atrocities going on in our town. If this goes on, nothing will remain in this world. Everything will be ruined. We will all die. We will sacrifice our lives till the time we don't get our freedom. This is not me saying this, but the whole Kashmir. What story will I tell? We have been telling it since childhood. They have snatched away all our happiness. Now we will take away from their happiness as well. How many freedom fighters will they kill? Freedom fighters will come out of every house.
I've been here since last night. My son won't be able to see anymore. The light in his eyes has been lost.
Pakistan has condemned the Indian brutalities on Kashmiris, protesting against illegal annexation of the region. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said New Delhi's actions have given new strength to the freedom movement.
When curfew is removed, a new reign of terror and barbarity could set in, which will jeopardize human rights further. There can be fresh bloodshed, which will result in unpleasant repercussions.
On August 5th, New Delhi revoked Article 370 of India's constitution, ending Kashmir's special status as a disputed territory. The move has provoked a furious reaction from Pakistan and fueled global concerns of conflict in the region.
Prime Minister Imran Khan has briefed the King of Bahrain, Sheikh Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, about the evolving situation in occupied Kashmir. In a telephone call with the King, Khan said India has violated United Nations resolutions by illegally revoking the occupied region's special status. He said Indian-occupied Kashmir is an internationally recognized disputed territory and New Delhi cannot unilaterally change its status. Prime Minister Khan said the international community must play its role to stop India from this irresponsible action in order to maintain peace in the region. The King said Bahrain is monitoring the situation in Indian-occupied Kashmir with deep concern and hopes that the issue will be resolved through talks. Moving over to Yemen, southern separatists have taken control of all military camps belonging to President Abdurabu Mansour Hadi's government in the port city of Aden. Security officials say the southern separatists have surrounded the presidential palace. They say intense fighting is underway between government forces and the rebels. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres says he is concerned at the violent clashes in Aden. Guterres called on both sides to start dialogue to resolve their dispute. Israeli troops have killed 4 Palestinians near the Gaza border. Earlier, Palestine's health ministry said 2 others were injured when Israeli troops fired live ammunition and rubber bullets at the protesters. Palestinian protesters are regularly shot and wounded while staging protests against Israel's blockade of Gaza. More than 350 Palestinian demonstrators have been killed since weekly protests began last year. Monsoon storms and their aftermath have killed 115 people in South Asia in the last 3 days. The southwestern Indian state of Kerala is the worst hit, with 42 people dying after 80 landslides hit the state in 2 days. Rescue officials say 24 died in the neighboring state of Karnataka, while 29 others lost their lives in Maharashtra. Meanwhile, 11 people died in 2 separate incidents of wall and building collapses in India's western state of Gujarat. In Pakistan, 9 people have been killed in rain-related incidents across the country. Heavy rains have also hampered livestock markets in Bangladesh, affecting the incomes of cattle farmers. 18 people have been killed and 14 others missing in a landslide after Typhoon Likima hit eastern China's Zhejiang province. Authorities have issued a high-level orange warning throughout the eastern region. Hundreds of flights and trains have been cancelled and 1 million people evacuated. Chinese state media says 3 million households have experienced a power blackout. Strong winds have destroyed 200 houses and over 66,000 hectares of farmland. 186 rescue teams, 36,000 firefighters and 8,400 fire engines have been assembled. 22 people have been killed in a landslide triggered by heavy rains in Myanmar's Mon state. An official says a deluge of mud engulfed 16 homes and a monastery in the village of Tai Pyar Kone. He says dozens of others were injured in the incident. Floods have also forced tens of thousands of people to flee their homes across the country. At least 57 people have been killed after an overturned fuel tanker exploded in Tanzania. Local media reports say 65 others were injured in the incident. Officials say the victims died while siphoning fuel from the tanker some 200 kilometers west of Dar es Salaam. An eyewitness says many people who were not stealing fuel also died. Well, Seoul claims North Korea has fired 2 more missiles into the sea off its east coast. The latest tests followed joint military exercises between the US and South Korean forces. These are North Korea's 5th such missile tests in less than 3 weeks. South Korea's defense ministry claims the missiles resembled short-range ballistic missiles launched by the North in late July. The ministry says such a test breaches 11 UN Security Council resolutions. Earlier, US President Donald Trump said he had received a beautiful letter from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Trump said Kim is unhappy with the current US-South Korea joint military exercises. Meanwhile, Russia has warned the US not to deploy long-range weapons around the world following its unilateral withdrawal from a Cold War missile pact. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova says the US has long planned to withdraw from the Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. She says Russia will plan its military development to respond to any threat posed by US military expansion. Zakharova says Russia will unilaterally abide by its obligations under the INF Treaty unless the US deploys missiles in other countries. Iran has unveiled a new missile defense system. Falak is a locally upgraded system with a range of 400 kilometers. Iranian media says the system has high capabilities and can detect all types of drones, cruise and ballistic missiles. The announcement comes at a time of rising tensions between Iran and the United States. Iran says any maritime presence in the Gulf from outside the region will be a source of insecurity. Tehran warned against the presence of Israel in a planned coalition to patrol the Strait of Hormuz. Foreign Minister Javad Zarif says the Persian Gulf is a vital lifeline and national security priority for Iran. He says Tehran will not hesitate to safeguard its security against any aggression. Earlier, Britain announced it will join the force amid rising tensions with Iran over the seizure of oil tankers. Libya's internationally recognized government has accepted the UN's proposal for a ceasefire during the Eid al-Adha holidays. The government has declared a ban on ground clashes and airstrikes on humanitarian grounds. Beginning today, the ceasefire will remain in force until August the 13th. The Tripoli administration says the UN mission in Libya will monitor the truce for violations. There was no immediate comment from Khalifa Haftar's eastern forces, and meanwhile, UN envoy Ghassan Salameh has proposed an international conference to end the war in Libya. Well, the UN says it is concerned at the violent clashes in the Yemeni port city of Aden. 8 people were killed in clashes between southern separatists and government forces in the area. In a statement, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged an end to hostilities. Guterres called on both sides to start dialogue to solve the dispute. Medics say 12 others were wounded in fighting near the presidential palace. Well, veteran Hollywood star Richard Gere has helped feed 121 migrants rescued as they fled from Africa. He has called on the world to lend its support to the refugees whose future seems bleak in the murky Mediterranean. More in this report.
On Friday, Richard Gere boarded the open arms rescue vessel, which has saved 121 lives. He also asked the international community to allow for a safe port where these people can be docked.
Open arms boat. I just arrived here from Lampedusa, and we brought as much water and as much food as we possibly can for everybody on the boat. I think there's about 140 people here, maybe 150. Yeah? Just from all over, with the crew also, from all over Africa. The crew is from all over the world also, mostly from Europe.
Richard has appealed for donations for the Spanish NGO so it can continue rescuing migrants. The actor says this is a crucial time as charity rescue boats have largely disappeared from the Mediterranean. Spanish government spokeswoman Isabel Salas says the ship should land at the closest safe port.
We're on two boats in the middle of the ocean. One of the boats was turned back and taken by the Libyan Navy. We don't know what happened to them. The two boats that were rescued here, probably all hands on board would have been lost. So the people that you see here on this boat, they're only here because of the donations to Open Arms, to the work that Open Arms does. And now the most important thing for these people here is to be able to get to a free port, be able to get off the boats, get on land and start a new life, be taken care of and make a life for themselves. So please support us here at Open Arms and help these people, my brothers and sisters.
At a press conference on Saturday, Gere accused the Italian government of demonizing people. The migrants, who include 32 minors, were rescued on August 1st by the Barcelona-based charity. They were rescued 8 days ago and are still waiting for an international host.
Right, and with that, we're going to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. More stories to follow. Welcome back. Now, US President Donald Trump says the views of the pro-gun rights NRA on gun control should be respected. Trump says the leaders of the House of Representatives and Senate are discussing expanded background checks for gun sales. He says guns should not be placed in the hands of mentally ill or deranged people. The president's remarks come after 31 people were shot dead in Texas and Ohio last weekend.
You have to remember, and I've said it, it's a big mental illness problem. And the gun doesn't pull the trigger. A sick mind pulls the trigger. What? So we want to take that out of the equation.
Well, at the time of the year when the world is fighting heat exhaustion, Australia is witnessing a cool breeze. Snow has blanketed parts of southeastern Australia as the cold front swept through to create a winter wonderland. See how they keep cool down under.
Canberra woke up to flurries of snow in the suburbs this morning. Residents in the New South Wales town of Orange, located about 250 kilometers west of Sydney, rollicked in the whiteout.
We've lived in Orange now for about 18 months, but no, not here, not in Australia. We haven't seen snow like this, which is nice to see. Kids are having fun, so.
The tops of Mounts Stromlo, Ainsel and Black Mountain are all buried beneath dark clouds with white coverings. Children and adults spent the day snow fighting and building snowmen.
Yeah, I have seen it before, but since I came to Orange, I have never seen a lot of snow like this, and I'm so excited when I see a lot of snow when I wake up in the morning.
The Bureau of Meteorology has warned the weather conditions are likely to continue through the weekend.
Heading over to France, refugees from Syria, Afghanistan and Africa are turning to beekeeping for a living. For many of them, the occupation was their first step in the long journey of integration. More in this report.
Beekeeping is relatively easy work for someone in a strange new land. There isn't much talking, so fluency in the local language isn't necessary. On top of that, investment costs are also very low.
Beekeeping is not a job for which you need to invest lots of money. 5 hives cost under 1,000 euros. You can start up a project and build it bit by bit.
Some refugees say they're happy to be able to work in nature.
We're always scared of bees in Africa because we don't know about insect and what they need. And I discovered here that really they're not aggressive, they're not nasty. They just defend themselves, and that's how I loved them, because of what they bring to nature, to the environment. It gave me even more love for them.
The job also helps distract them from the difficulties of being a refugee.
Too much my life, I forget it. Before difficult, but now changes my life. My mind also, I can't see this changes.
Professional integration is hard for refugees, with demand for manual labor decreasing. As such, beekeeping is one of the last lifelines refugees in France can depend on. Many hope of one day making it big in the honey business.
Well, more than 2 million Muslims have gathered in the holy city of Mecca for one of the most important rituals of Islam. Al-Sheikh Mohammed bin Hassan is delivering sermon in the Nimra Mosque at Arafat. Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, and Muslims must perform it at least once in their lives if they can afford to. The pilgrimage commemorates the sacrifices of Prophet Abraham, his wife Hajj, and their son, the Prophet Ismail. The pilgrims undertake religious rites that have remained unchanged since the founding of Islam 14 centuries ago. It is performed in 7 steps, starting from the 8th day of the lunar month of Zilhajj. The ritual is performed in unison to create harmony and affection. First up in business, Chinese telecoms giant Huawei has launched its own operating system, Harmony, offsetting the threat of losing access to Google's Android. Huawei says the new system would be usable in different devices, ranging from smartphones to speakers and sensors. Chief Executive Richard Yu says the Harmony OS would initially be installed in smart screen products. He says Harmony will be ready to use in China by the end of the year. It will be launched internationally in mid-2020. Over the next 3 years, Harmony will be available in a wide range of devices, including wearables and car head units. And first up in sports, Liverpool's Brazilian keeper Alison Becker is out of Wednesday's UEFA Super Cup final with Chelsea. He suffered a calf injury in the 4-1 Premier League opening day win over Norwich City at Anfield on Friday. He went down in the first half as he slipped while playing the ball out. A stretcher was brought, but he was able to leave the field with the help of support staff. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp says it is too early to know the condition of the injury, but Becker has no chance of playing against Chelsea. And at the Pan American Games in Peru, America's Charles Swanson has won gold in the men's 400-meter individual medley. Brazil's Leonardo Coelho claimed silver, while his compatriot Brandon Cruz de Almeida took bronze. Swanson surged to victory in 4 minutes, 11.46 seconds. Coelho secured second spot on the podium after finishing 8 seconds behind. De Almeida's time of 4 minutes and 19 seconds was enough to secure the bronze medal. Earlier, Jamaican field sprinter Shelley Ann Fraser-Price broke the 40-year-old Pan Am Games record for the 200 meters. The two-time Olympic champion clocked 22.43 seconds. The tournament record was previously held by American Evelyn Ashford. Well, it's 32 degrees Celsius here in Lahore, but let's take a look around the world. Well, that was all I had from the news bulletin at the moment, but do stay tuned to Indus News for further updates. And as always, thanks for watching.